Hello, everybody, and welcome to Keepers of Humanity. I am delighted to welcome you here today. And we are bringing you the voices in this beautiful gathering of Indigenous wisdom keepers, spiritual guides, healers, shamans, revolutionaries, and visionaries who hold the keys, codes, wisdom, and secrets that are needed now to give you access to the eternal cosmic consciousness, guide you to break free from old stagnant patterns, and help you in the process of transforming them into new perceptions of what is possible here in the miracle realm of Earth, so that together we can construct a bright and vibrant future with its foundation solidly rooted in love, compassion, joy, and truth. I am Jocelyn Star Feather. I'll be your host and guide for this event. And today I am so excited to be here with Patricia Lehman, my wonderful friend and mentor. And thank you so much, Patricia, for being here with us today.
Well, I'm honored to be a part of it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, Patricia, I will share a little bit more about your work for those who may not know you already. Patricia Lehman, speaker, researcher, writer, and explorer. As a longtime student in metaphysical, spiritual, and Indigenous traditions, Patricia's eclectic spiritual background serves as a strong foundation to support her work. Her lifelong passion for knowing why and how we exist led her to the in-depth study of the esoteric sciences, as well as the physical sciences, comparative religions, ancient literature, mythology, art history, and symbolism. All of this was an incredible preparation for the level of research that she is currently undertaking in Egypt. The Neteru, mythology, and symbolism of ancient Egypt all combine to give us a brilliant vision and understanding of the genesis of mankind and how we eternally cycle through dimensions and stages of consciousness. They have given us an alchemical map for how we can work with these natural and archetypal energies and patterns to traverse these dimensional portals in any now moment. Patricia became a student of the work of the Egyptian indigenous wisdom keeper, Abdel Hakim Al-Yan, on her first trip to Egypt in 2005. Patricia has lived in Egypt now for over 14 years and devotes much of her time to the research of ancient symbolism and mythologies worldwide. She has traveled to many ancient sites globally, researching clues that support the concept of a very advanced civilization, both technologically and spiritually, that once spanned the globe thousands of years ago and left a legacy of knowledge and wisdom for us to decipher. And Patricia and I co-facilitate tours in Egypt now, and I have learned so much from you, Patricia. So thank you again for all that you do, for your beautiful presence in the world and these mysteries that you're helping us to uncover and unveil.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's always a pleasure to do these events with you and to work with you, Jocelyn.
Yeah, likewise. Likewise. Well, I know your topic for today is the primordial womb of consciousness, and I know you have a beautiful presentation prepared for us about this topic, so I will let you take it away.
Okay. Let's see if I can, there we go.
Wonderful, and I can see your screen, so.
Excellent. Now, will it let me? There we go. Okay. And can I delete? Sorry, I just want to get rid of all the Zoom software that's showing up everywhere.
Okay, yes. You need to be able to see your presentation.
Exactly. Okay, hopefully that'll help. So yes, Primordial Womb of Consciousness. You know, the ancients worldwide speak of creation as emerging out of this primordial womb of consciousness. And what does that mean? That's some of the things I'm going to talk about because, you know, this is where we emerge from. And just the fact that it's telling us it's consciousness itself is telling us something really profound. And it really tells us how we can change our reality in any given moment. So this is what all the things I'm going to talk about as we move forward. I did want to introduce you to Abdel Hakim Alian just briefly, as you know, this man is basically, I knew I needed to come to Egypt. I knew it all my life. But when I got the call, when I heard the voice, I discovered and did my research. I discovered the work of this man through Stephen Mailer. I read it, they wrote books together, and it resonated with me and everything I had been coming to with my own research. And he was a phenomenal man. I unfortunately didn't get to know him for very long, but very blessed to have known him for as long as I did, if that makes sense. He was known as the keeper of the keys, or the indigenous wisdom keeper in Egypt. And, you know, I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about him. You can find him through Stephen Mailer's work, through Carmen Bolter. She's since passed, unfortunately, but she created the Pyramid Code, a series that spoke a lot about Hakim. In fact, many people have written to me over the years and literally found us or found me through both of these fields of work. And I always like to start my presentations by, you know, making it clear exactly what the pantheon of gods and goddesses of ancient Egypt truly represented. And we actually, the word for God in ancient Egypt was neter, from the consonants NTR, the hieroglyphs that give us the consonants NTR. Neter was pronounced as nature by the Greeks and Romans, and it's where we get our word nature. And they represented these living energies, the forces and laws of the universe, as, you know, in our three-dimensional reality, as they manifest in nature. They are the natures within us and without. And so when we talk about the symbolism of each one and then how they connect and in their mythologies, and we look at how there's a migration of change and transmutation of even what they represent. They teach us so much about cycles and consciousness and how we are actually experiencing this reality. It's literally a map for how we can walk through this reality in the best possible way. And that's exciting. They also, I think so many of you have already become aware with this phrase, as above, so below. But this is really just the foundational expression for describing, you know, how we experience reality as patterns of energy, fractal patterns above and below, within and without. All life exists as these patterns of energy in motion. And I have images here of the procession of the equinoxes, and even a temple, the temple of man, because they even created their structures within the patterns of nature itself as living structures. And so many dynamics attached to that, which I don't want to take the time to go into now, but it's patterned after the energetic patterns of the human body itself. And the human body is patterned after the patterns of nature. And so you can see it's a fractal holographic universe of cycles and cycles within cycles of patterned energy. And this is really incredible, because once we understand the patterns, then we know how to harness, navigate, you know, basically create an incredible, beautiful new world just by learning how to harness these patterns of energy. And so I want to introduce you to Hathor, or Hector. And here you can see this wonderful image of her. It's a black and white image on the left. And you see her hair is forming what we've come to know as the Omega symbol. And the Omega symbol holds the Alpha, and the Alpha is the seed of life. Her name itself is on the far right. You can see the image of the hawk inside the square, and the square is the place. It's Het, and Her is the seed. It's the place or womb of the Hor, or the seed of life. And so when it's not opened, it's basically is the infinity symbol that you see above. And It's known in ancient Egypt as the Shen, and it's the contained energy of the primordial waters. And as it's opened, those waters are released to create our perception of reality. Her hair is actually something that was known as the new pot. It's the container again. Her hair, this beautiful image of her inside the Milky Way. Her hair is the Milky Way. Her hair is Nut, the heavens. And it represents the new pot from which the primordial waters of liquid light fall into form. This is creation. I saw this wonderful quote on social media from Tim Thompson, and it says, "Freedom is the sky, and the soul assumes the shape of that which it contemplates." And that does describe water, watery waveform, assuming the shape of its container, and the potentials of what we can create from that liquid light. Here we see on the far left an image of Nut, and she's wearing the new pot as her crown. And it becomes to be a symbol of Nut herself, the Milky Way, the container from which we are born when heaven and earth separate. And it illustrates an understanding of the sky or heaven as being this container of cosmic waters. Pet, the hieroglyphs for PT or pet was also known to be the heavens or sky. And so with this fall of watery waveform, watery liquid light into form, we also are introduced to the language of light, which becomes our words. And from this pot, new pot, pet, we gain the words potent, potion, potter, and potential, from the phrase new pot as expressions and associations with Nut. This is how language was formed, from sounds and tones, from liquid light becoming form. So in the beginning, we're told in the creation stories that nu, none, no thing. There was just the primordial waters of consciousness, silent, colorless, inert, inactive. It's the primordial source of all energy that permeates the universe and is responsible for the emergence of matter. And it's conscious. It's just consciousness. Inspired by its imaginings, Nu exhaled into individuated aspects of itself as archetypal forces of nature possessing immortal spirits. Through their evolution, they become co-creators of their holographic universes, which in turn gave birth to fractally vibrating universes of their own, and so on. Through magnetic attraction, this original heart of consciousness inhaled or evolved back into oneness. At-one-ment, atonement, atonement in ancient Egypt, for another moment of silence. And then it all began again. And this is illustrating to us that we are all co-creators. We've heard this over and over again, but we are, and we've forgotten how powerful we really are. Here we have a wonderful image on the papyrus of Ani from the 19th dynasty showing us the two waters, the Nile on earth and mirroring the Milky Way above in the heavens. These are the two waters, but they represent so much more. Water in all of its forms, and I'll say it again and again, is conscious. It's consciousness here imagining and consciousness creating. It is the spiritual center of universal thought as the great central source or cosmic ocean that existed before the manifestation of matter. In India, they call this Maya. In Egypt, when we ask for water, we can ask for Maya, and they'll bring us a bottle of water. The ancients believed that water possessed a mysterious power or potency that manifested of and by itself in a patterned format that offers conscious awareness of life. And here we have Ptah, and he is the divine potter. Potter becomes a phrase. Pater is our root word for father, the divine father. Ptah forms the earth from the potter's wheel, from the black earth of ancient Egypt. He is the thing that pops from out of the blue. Primordial waters is the mound. And you can see he wears, on the image on the right, he wears this blue, the blue primordial waters on his head. He is the primordial waters falling into form and becomes the mound. He is wrapped in his own wings, as all matter exists in a perception of containment. In a way, his head, his skull, is the new pot containing the wonderful primordial waters. And the potter's wheel itself is it is the heavens, it is the stars and the moon and the sun. And as the wheel begins to spin, this is when liquid light falls into form. Isn't that a beautiful way of describing creation? It's movement, energy in motion. And this is so beautiful. You see, the image of the hippopotamus is Taret, our Epet, and she seeds our world with love. Illustrated as a hippopotamus or lion, she was revered in ancient Egypt as a pregnant mother and protector of pregnant women and their children. With Draco often shown as a crocodile on her back, she was associated with the circumpolar stars and the Big Dipper. Her hand rests on the mooring post from which our perception of time and space emerges with the spinning of our Earth's axis, which points to this significant place in the sky. She gives birth to our current perception of reality, portrayed so beautifully at the center of the Dendera zodiac, or potter's wheel. Creation spirals out from her belly with Anubis, and you can see this in the bottom image. She spins from our ecliptic pole, where I have the red arrow pointing to. Anubis is emerging from her belly on the mare. And the mare is a plow. In this case, in the middle of the Dendera zodiac, the plow is the Little Dipper, and in front of it you see the Big Dipper, and this is the dynamic, the cow of heaven. This is how life begins. And the plow in ancient Egypt was the tool that basically opens paths for water to flow in irrigation ditches, as well as for seeding in ancient Egypt. And the mare itself translates as love. So she gives birth to our current perception of reality, portrayed so beautifully at the center or of the zodiac or potter's wheel, and it spirals out of her belly with Anubis, as he's known as the path opener, riding the hieroglyph of the myrrh. And he embalms us in its patterns of currency. He is the alpha dog, spinning out the tones that become our alphabet and foundation for written and oral language. Language is the language of light coming from the stars. We've heard this so many times. And so this mare, as I said, translates as love. And so our source at the center is love. I just think this is so beautiful. And here we see a wonderful image of a netter called Hapi, and he's androgynous, both masculine and feminine. And he's known to be representative of the fertility of the waters, the potentials, the infinite potentials of the waters. And what's really interesting is he also represents Aquarius on the ceiling at Dendera. He is Aquarius, and he represents this moment in time and why we are beginning to feel the energy. He is the master of the mysteries of water. And as we begin to learn and feel the energy again, we will learn how to manipulate, navigate, harness them to create amazing things. He's shown here at the harvest time. So the seed has been planted and we emerge, and then we go, Horus represents the hero, and we are all on the hero's journey. He's our hero on the hero's journey, and he is representing the ascension or the resurrection of Osiris at the harvest, at this moment in time. And it to me is just a phenomenal indication of what we've all been feeling, that we are moving into a time of great awakening. And it's no mistake, and it's very real. In ancient Egypt, we were told you can rely on the one who knows water. Hakim used to say this, and I'll talk about Asget Nefer in just a moment. And here, you know, you can rely on the one who knows water in all of its aspects. We are encouraged ourselves to learn, to know water. And what does that mean? It's a return, it's a self-purification, it's a return to the primordial. The ultimate aim of ancient Egyptian and Sufi mystics was to reconnect with the bliss of at-one-ment by seeking to return to the original state of purity and unlimited potentials of the primeval waters. Love, our source. Hakim said that creation began with the spit of Nut, the woman of the sky. Stephen Mailer speaks about this. He said when Nut wanted to manifest on earth in physical form, she spit. Spittle, moisture, or saliva was the first breath that separates heaven and earth. Creation stories tell us we are made in the spitting image of our Creator. One creation story is all about the masculine. Atum is the great creator. And he says, it is I who created excitement with my fist. I copulated with my hand. I let fall from my own mouth. I spat forth as Shu, representing air. I expectorated as Tefnut. Tefnut is the spit of Nut. The heavens, the Milky Way. Tefnut is a lioness, and she is the true or original creation story is that the great mother, as Tefnut, was the divine source of creation. She is, you know, you can see her, the wonderful image in the center I took at Glastonbury in England, and Glastonbury tour, well, the whole area is so incredible, but this water that comes from this lioness at Glastonbury comes from the Glastonbury tour, and it's iron rich. And of course, feline. It's Phi is our symbol for iron, and the feline is the lioness. And what's interesting is all over the world, the priests that knew, the priests that had reached a certain level of knowing were able to wear the feline skin, whether it was panther, cougar, leopard, lion, all over the world in tribal traditions and in traditions and cultures, literally and probably on all continents, understood this relationship of felines and the currency of the earth. Tefnut represents moisture and water. And the great floods symbolize purification through inundation as rebirth and resurrection. This is all speaking to this beautiful purifying quality of water, energy, and motion. And here we see an image of Tefnut as the great lioness. Hakim always said that the Sphinx was Tefnut. Others today, Robert Schoch and Menu Safeda, are all speaking about an ancient tradition that speaks to Mehet as being the Sphinx. But Mehet and Tefnut, their stories are so similar, they must be one and the same, with just different titles as we move through time and space. And the Sphinx, as this great lion, I believe she had a lion's face at one time, as so many do today, and was later carved into the image of what many still believe is a feminine face, although some believe it's masculine. But this wonderful Sphinx, this great lion, and it's a lion form, is in alignment with the pyramids, and the middle pyramid especially. And the middle pyramid was attributed to Khafre, a pharaoh from the 4th dynasty. And Khafre is a title, it's a label, and it means the Ka of Ra. And the Ka of Ra means the life force from the sun. You know, liquid light falling into matter as the first breath of life on earth. She's in alignment with a very powerful current of fertility on the earth. Here we see on the ceiling of Dendera, this beautiful image of a sphinx. It looks exactly like the sphinx from the Giza Plateau, wearing a serpent as its crown. And the serpent energy it represents fertility and is related to Eve, Asherah, Mary, Isis, Hathor, and many others throughout the world. And it is the Ka of Ra. It translates here as the Ka of Ra, translates as the shining of Ra, the vital animating life force that emanates from our sun. And here we see the image of the hands in the sky represent Ka. And Ka is life force. Ka is what separates heaven and earth. And Tefnut was moisture. She's water. She's the lifeblood of the mother, of the earth, of our own body. Water is life. Desert, dryness, dehydration is death. And it's a reminder that we all need to stay hydrated and to find the most pure water that we can in a world today where water has unfortunately become tarnished and not so palatable. Things that we can do to make our world more habitable. Water, boy, if that would be a place to truly begin to look at how we can purify the water on the planet again. And I know so many people personally who are working on different methods for doing this. And we can only hope that they have great success. But this water that's, in everything, it's currency itself, and it's conscious, and it's interacting with us. And this is so profound and important. The Nile of ancient Egypt was the breath of life. Without it, when the Nile receded, and took the water away, everything became dry and desolate, death. And then the annual floods would come and bring the life force back to Egypt. And Tefnut represented this ebb and flow. And when that water returned, they had what they called festivals of drunkenness, celebration, because it meant the life force, the lushness of Egypt would be returned. There's a much greater cycle called the Great Year, the procession of the equinoxes, in which this water will return to Egypt again as well. Tefnut is the birth canal, or the portal, conduit between heaven and earth. And you see her portrayed, these wonderful channels that you see, like the one in the center, this beautiful image of Tefnut. And you see, that there's usually a hole. These are actually channels for water to come from the rooftops. You see them on the outer parts of the temple at the top, right where the roofs are. And the water comes through images of false doors, interdimensional gateways. It's liquid light. It's basically falling from the heavens into basins on earth, and it becomes the holy or sacred water used in rituals and for healing. Just beautiful dynamics. And Sachet. Sachet is sacred geometry. Hakim said we were all once Sesh and lived in peace. We were all Sachet. All life forms, as we know them, emerge out of ageless, sacred geometric patterns of energy and motion, and they're conscious. Sachet, say that 3 times. Sachet feels the currents and knows how to navigate and harness them to create conscious living forms and structures. She is the grand architect who provides the blueprint for the proportions of the patterned energy and motion on Earth as a mirror of the stellar, solar, and lunar movements in the heavens. We are all Sachet in our highest state of conscious awareness. And here you see this wonderful image of her on the right, and she's basically wearing the leopard skin, and the spots on the leopard skin are the stars, because she is the astrologer as well, and aligns these structures with these heavenly movements. And here's a great image of Zoroaster in Iran and Heka in Egypt on the far right. And it's interesting, Zoroaster actually is basically harnessing the currents with the new pots. So this knowledge, and we see this, the symbolism, we see so often all over the Mesopotamian area, the Mediterranean area, in India, and even gravitating toward China. We see it all over the world. The ancients did navigate the currents, the seas, it's just truly amazing how we can connect the dots of these symbolic references. And Heka, you see on the far right, Heka was magic, or what we would call supernatural. He was able to do supernatural feats. What we would actually call supernatural was completely natural to them. And when you create a portal by crossing currency, you are creating that vortex, that place, that is a portal, a 0 point energy where, you have unlimited potentials for creating.
That's so cool, Patricia. I love that image from Iran with the new pots. And
Isn't that amazing?
yes.
Especially as I continue to do this research, and I realize, even how our language comes from this ancient knowing. And I find this all over the world too, that the same tones and sounds basically have the same foundational meanings. This isn't, our languages, Tower of Babel, are different all over the world, but they have inherent similarities. And, this is just so fascinating to me.
It really is. Yeah, I just recorded an interview with Cynthia Honores, and she was talking about the Mayan calendar, and we were looking at the correlations between the Mayan calendar and the Egyptian deacons and the concepts of how those archetypes move through time. It's just incredible.
Truly, truly. Yeah, and I look forward to seeing some of the other presentations too, because what I've realized lately is when we do these things, these great events, it's funny how all the speakers tend to connect on so many different things. It seems to be a flow to everything that's being said.
Definitely.
So much
is
more
helping to orchestrate all of it.
Yes, exactly. There's a hand out there that's guiding us, or maybe it's within. We're creating it. But so here is another divine feminine netter, where she is ninth, and she is the net. She wears the Taurus, the symbol of the Taurus field, on her head. She is the Taurus, and the ancient Egyptians told us that everything was Taurus, this ebb and flow of energy and motion. And when I look at that flow, when you look at that image on the right, and you try to say that, people always ask about time, how old are the pyramids, or, how old is the Sphinx? And I always kind of tend to chuckle, because if you see how energy moves, it's not linear. Nothing is linear. So how can we measure time and space through linear terminology? Just a thought. But astrophysicist Matthias Höfner says all forces are of electromagnetic origin. Our cosmos is an open system, and all light phenomena are based on electromagnetic phenomena. And that electromagnetic phenomena comes from scalar energy, subtle energy, and it becomes electromagnetic in our world, in our atmosphere. That scalar energy is sort of like that primordial energy. And they are working on technologies today where you can bathe in that scalar energy to help bring your body back to its original state of purity. Or, it works to do that, under that concept. But Ninth is said to have woven the world into being on her loom, much like the Native American mythologies of Spider-Woman. And its manifestation from primordial watery waveform, energy in motion. And this, a lot of the indigenous traditions tell us there really is no time and space, and it's all an illusion. But it's a patterned illusion, and it offers us an ability to experience energy in motion. That primordial waters in containment is just consciousness imagining. But that first breath gives us that opportunity to experience what we're imagining. That's the difference between consciousness imagining and consciousness experiencing. We all chose to be here now to experience this, but they also gave us formulas and knowledge and symbolism to tell us that we can create a world that is full of joy and laughter and love if we remember who we are and remember our primordial source and that we are part of that. We are not separate. We are part of one primordial source. And just in that knowledge, we can have a reverence for everything that exists. So Night's Temple at Sais was known as the place of the bee. She was known as the queen bee. And all vibrating patterns of life and breath are fractally connected to the finely woven fabric of her womb. We're all connected. And it's no accident that bees are significant symbols of wisdom, fertility, and the sacred feminine worldwide. The geometric design of their honeycombs reflects the fabric of the universe. And then we could talk about the dynamics of the bee and the queen bee and how she keeps, she creates a community through electromagnetic energy. And everyone works together in peace and harmony. The Earth is surrounded by cosmic plasma consisting of electrons, ions, and negatively charged dust particles that are conscious and interacting with us. Cosmic plasma. This is the primordial energy. Dust is conscious. Dust is plasma. Plasma is one of the four fundamental states of matter alongside solids, liquids, and gases. It is often described as an ionized gas because it consists of charged particles, including electrons and ions. In a plasma, a significant portion of the atoms or molecules has been stripped from their electrons, creating a mixture of positively charged ions and free electrons. This electron-ion mixture makes plasma electrically conductive, which means it can carry electrical currents and respond to electromagnetic fields. Well, this describes the inner workings of our bodies, not just the the plasma filaments in space. These are our neural networks, and they're conscious. So what is that telling us? That we can talk to ourselves, we can talk to our bodies, we can talk to our organs. We can heal ourselves if we remember that everything is conscious, but we tend to forget. Plasma filaments, conscious plasma bodies, the bloodstream of our universe, run through space, connecting all superclusters, forming a giant grid system, just like the neural pathways of our brain. A perfect fractal scale invariant example of the distribution of consciousness among the universe. This is showing us our connection to everything that exists in the universe, in the multiverse, in whatever exists within this perception of reality. It's
And
space dust.
And
go ahead.
That everything is conscious.
Exactly.
Everything. It's all a conscious network. That's so beautiful. I hadn't seen it illustrated in exactly that way before. That's really amazing.
It actually, to me, is mind-blowing. And I've heard these terms before, but when I really delve deeply into understanding it, and I've read all these different scientific studies, which I won't talk about today, but they're proving today through science, modern science, that waveform is conscious. All of this is everything is conscious. That changes the game board. That changes everything. We are powerful just in knowing that we can communicate and interact with everything in our perception of reality. That's big. It is huge. That life should be carbon-based is a pretty dated assumption, he says here. But this is from Wired magazine. These days, the zeitgeist is all about sustained organization and patterns of energy flow. An international team has discovered that under the right conditions, particles of inorganic dust can become organized into helical structures, and these structures can then interact with each other in ways that are usually associated with organic compounds and life itself. It's because they are alive. And we're all formed from space dust. We are space dust, or star stuff, as Carl Sagan said. In a computer model of inorganic particles in plasma, researchers from the Russian Academy of Science, the University of Sydney, and the Max Planck Institute for Extraterrestrial Physics watched plasma state inorganic dust organize itself, twisting into strands that look and act a bit like DNA. There are no accidents. So as promised, I said I would talk about Ascot Nefer. Actually, Stephen, and I know you've been talking to Stephen, Jocelyn. Stephen Mailer and I were just talking about Ascot Nefer, and how Hakeem would say, this meant the harmony of water. And Ascot Nefer as the harmony of water. And there's a little image on the bottom on the far left, represented the innate balance of the ebb and flow of watery waveform as the game board for existence. Ascot itself represented the origin of all forms of water: rivers, lakes, seas, and oceans, saliva, lava, blood, amniotic fluid, lymph, tears, plasma, light, currency, both subtle and electromagnetic. And the new pot was the symbol of the divine feminine womb as the vessel which receives the seed. Nu or Nu was the symbol for the celestial waters as the netter Nu, and his female counterpart, Nut, was the container. So Ascot was pure primordial energy from the sacred womb. We all want to return to the harmony of water. And so I'll talk about some of the people that spoke about water and being conscious that we might be familiar with. And one was this knowing that water has memory. In the late 1980s, renowned scientist Dr. Jacques Benveniste conducted a groundbreaking series of studies that suggested water had the ability to hold memories. He took proteins and diluted them into water until no trace of the original proteins remained. And then when he introduced this water to white blood cells, they reacted exactly as they would have had the original proteins still been there. Somehow water appeared to hold memory of the proteins long after the proteins were gone. A lot of us are definitely familiar with Dr. Masaru Emoto and his work. And he showed us that water can feel and express itself. In the late 1990s, he expanded our understanding of water when he began studying how the molecular structure of water can be transformed when exposed to human words, thoughts, sounds, and intentions. Wow. I remember I used to, we all used to put words, we put labels on our water bottles, saying love or pure or, all the qualities we would feel would benefit us. And then we stop. There are always these fads and we think about it and then we tend to forget we're in a 3D, the world is always pulling us back into 3D. But I think, if we can remember that our thoughts, our attitudes, are affecting our state of health, it changes everything. That this constant interaction, not only with our bodies, but with everything outside of our bodies, is affecting our state of our mental, physical, and spiritual bodies. That's big. We are made up of 70 to 80% water. And water in all its forms. And then, we're actually totally made up of water if you consider that we are the body electric. And then when I went, I spoke at a conference last October in California, and I was introduced to the profound work of Veda Austin. I'm shocked that I didn't hear about her before. That shows you how much my head is in my work and my research. But I was really, it was just incredible to see her speak about her work. And I highly recommend that, everybody check out her work. And she's proven to us that she is proving to us that water can be influenced by thought, intention, and imagery. And she's showing so many different ways that it's communicating with us. And here is her book. If you want to look this up, she's just introducing this now, and it's called The Secret Intelligence of Water. And what she does, and it seems so simple. And as soon as I heard about it, I ran out. She puts and bought a whole box of Petri dishes. She puts a little bit of water in a Petri dish, and she gives the water intention, whether through a visual like a photograph, or just speaking to it, or she'll put something in the water and she'll freeze it for about 3 minutes. You don't want to freeze it too long. And the water always reacts with an image to speak about what you're presenting to it. And here you see this wonderful lotus, and the water gave her a lotus. It knew, it recognized. This is what, one of the things that really blew me away. She put seeds in the water. And in this case here, it's a sunflower seed. And the water not only understands, but it can also think and express future potentials, because this sunflower seed, she puts it in for just 30 seconds, and she pulls the seed out, and the water 3 minutes later gives her a beautiful image of a sunflower. So it's saying, it didn't just replicate what was under it, or, a picture, or, the object. It's actually giving you its future potential. It can become the sunflower. This is phenomenal. This should really rock our world when you consider the implications that we are made up of water. We can talk to our bodies. I know I can't say that enough. We can talk to everything that exists, and it is understanding us, and we have an effect on it. And, all these years that they talk about this, and we knew this, we were told this, but I'm beginning to see it in so many different ways, and so many different potentials for how we can interact with water, to even have questions. She's actually been asking the water questions. And after she freezes it, the water is answering, and even spells things out in our language. This is mind-blowing.
Truly.
These things just, it changes the way I'm actually living in my own world, because it's bringing it all forward all at the same time. We are just about in the age of Aquarius. If we're not already there, like so many believe, we precess into it. So of course we're already there. And I think we are beginning to know this stuff. It's not just something we're reading about, some sort of, information that's out there, and we don't know how to embrace it or embody it. I think we're beginning to embody it, or we have the opportunity to embody it. And this is how we change our world. I'm a huge fan of Beta Austin, and I'm a huge fan of Dr. Ibrahim Karim, who developed biogeometry here in Egypt. He's an architect. His father was a famous architect, but he is doing things today and creating methods for us to literally bring our bodies and our environments back into a state where they're our environments can be beneficial to us, and we can heal our own bodies through shape and form and currency. He created what he studied. What you're seeing there on the far left are images of energy. You can see there's all these different little images, but they represent the flow of energy in our different organs in our bodies. I took his class. I was fortunate to finally meet him. Everyone that I was working with here in Egypt kept telling me I had to meet Dr. Ibrahim Karim, because I was speaking the same language. But they had moved to Canada, and they came back in January of 2020. And just by accident, no, nothing happens by accident. A friend of mine came, and she was meeting with them, and she introduced me to Durea, and the next thing I knew, I was taking the whole family to Saqqara, and I took their introductory course. I think it was a week later. The odds of that, it was, I think, the last in-person class they had before the pandemic. And I went in sort of like a skeptic at first because I heard they used pendulums. But in truth, I discovered that it wasn't the way I grew up. We used to play with pendulums. I had used them throughout my life, and they're really handy tools. But they utilize your subconscious, and the tools he's created are actually, they measure qualitative energy, and it's helping us to discern, those of us that have used it. You can discern what's beneficial for you in so many different ways. But I'm just offering different ways that this knowing is being used today. But these particular energies, he has a whole book on this, these signatures, he calls them. And you can look this up. You can look him up on Amazon or just on, in a search engine, and you will find his work. But these are shaped as shapes of organs, and he had us, just doodle them. He said one day we had a class, and actually his daughters, Durea and Layla, are teaching the classes, but he sat in on many of our classes at that time. And we were actually, they told us if we had something we wanted to heal, to draw the signature, that flow of energy. And, this is a form of how you can heal yourself. And so I did. I had gotten food poisoning a couple days before, and I was still feeling really sick and nauseous, but didn't want to miss class. So I took the intestines and I drew it, and they said, get up and dance to the flow of that energy. And by the time we were done with that particular part of the lesson, all of my pain was gone. And, I'm being completely honest and sincere. And again, all the things that we did totally wowed me, because I was in a class of maybe 28 people or so, and we always all came up with the same results. This is a modality that works, and it's working with currency. And the currency of your own body in this case, but also he's found ways to make things like, waves that we would say are coming from Wi-Fi or other things in our environment, and he's able to turn them into something that no longer hurts us, and in some cases becomes beneficial. And I have the image up on of the ankh and the winged scarab beetle, because it's a reminder too of the amulets that the ancients wore, and again, all over the world. And they wore them for protection or for intention or for bringing something into their lives. And these amulets, the energy that they project, they're interacting with us. They wasn't just something, some crazy thing that the ancients used to do. And I think it's why we're attracted to wear some of these ancient symbols, because they speak to us, and they interact with us in beautiful ways. And I can't not speak about the healing, what Hakim had called the healing hospital at Saqqara in Egypt. And it's a place that was built to harness the energy of the site itself, and built in such a way that it's created an environment where you can literally remove the blockages that create disease through sound, color, shape. It's incredible. And we take our groups to these sites, and we can bask in this energy, and we experiment with it, and it always amazes me how they were able to not only know where to build the sites. Well, it doesn't amaze me anymore, but because I realize this is something that was done worldwide. They could feel the energy of the sites, and they knew where to build them, but that they were able to harness it for so many things. This is implosive energy, not explosive energy, like the medicines that we use or the techniques that we use today. Even the technologies to build megalithic structures was implosive, in sync with the frequencies and patterns of nature. Nothing ever disturbed the flow of nature. And today we do use explosive technologies to achieve the same results, but we're destroying and damaging our environment, our health, our bodies. You know, it's really a huge teaching for us to return to the primordial, go back to the old ways, and we can live in so much better ways. And with modalities like biogeometry, we can learn that we can still have our internet and it won't hurt us. We can still have the things we've become accustomed to if we learn how to use symbol, shape, and form to negate any negative effects. So it's an exciting time to be alive with all the things we have at our fingertips.
And it feels, Patricia, like there's so many new discoveries are being made, so many new studies are being done, and it feels like it's just about to just explode out from, like certain people are working with these things now, and it feels like it's about to go out to the masses in an amazing way where we remember how powerful we really are, as you have said.
Well, that's exactly it. And all the work that you're doing to bring it forward, that all of us are doing, is making, I believe, a huge difference. You know, people sign up to actually come and listen to us. And you're doing this nonstop. And I'm working around the clock because we feel called to bring this knowledge forward. And there are people that are, doing so many incredible things, and they're speaking up. And we have to be sure that our voices, everyone's voice can be heard. Because it takes a village. It takes all of us. The silly phrase, but it takes all of us connecting the dots to bring ourselves back into, we separated into all these individuated aspects, and to come back to primordial is to bring ourselves back into unity consciousness. And that we do that by holding hands and working together. So
back into the truth.
Back to the truth. Exactly. Exactly. So I love this. This is the Simatui, one of the most ancient symbols in Egypt, and it represents the breath. It's the symbol itself. The ancient symbol is on the right, and it's a papyrus and a lotus plant. But what's in the center is a trachea, and on top is the voice box. And what you're looking at are the lungs. The lotus and the papyrus are the polarity, the masculine and feminine, the positive and negative charge. And as we breathe in and out, that charge, we're moving into and out of center. That's life. That is the breath of life. Where, when we make mistakes, that's the lows of the roller coaster that we're on. But the more we learn the pattern, the more we know how to quickly get back to our peaks. And that's the key. That's the key to the hero's journey. Everything we experience is an ebb and flow. But when you know how to ride the currents, or surf the currents, as so many people say, it can be a blast. We don't feel the lows anymore because we know we're heading back to the peaks. And what's even more important is when you breathe with clear intention, everything can be transformed in one great, as they say in India, yogic breath. One great yogic breath, and you can change your world. And that's why breath work, so many people do breath work, because it's so important. We need to be cognizant of our breath and take those big, deep breaths, because it's life. Hydrate, take big, deep breaths, and be clear with your intentions. And when people say, how do I get back? How do I remember who I am? I always say, put the cell phone down and get yourself back in nature. And this image is actually, I went back last summer with a friend to the place where I grew up, which was way out in the country. And the people living there, I introduced myself and said, can I take a walk around the lake? And she actually came with me. And this is a picture from that. And it brought, it just brought so many memories back to me when I played in the woods and planted trees and swam in the lakes. And it was, to me, that literally was my education for the work that I'm doing today. Nature speaks, and when you open your senses, you can hear her message. And I love this. This is by Gary Bassi. And he says, he's a dowser, dowsing earth energies has made me finally understand that truly everything is connected, not just spatially, but through time as well. It has also made me realize that consciousness is everything, and whatever that is, it impacts the world around us in ways you simply cannot imagine. There is a sort of feedback loop. What you expect, you get, and thus you expect more of the same. If everything's always going bad, like I was complaining about all my PC issues, well, just keep continuing because I'm focusing on that. And it's a reminder to remember when everything's working beautifully, and go through the steps. But he says, connecting with the land via dowsing has led me on the most amazing adventures into the nature of reality and who I am. And I believe that's true. I believe when we truly interact with nature, and when I'm out in nature, the trees talk to me. I'm a tree hugger. The trees talk to me, the rocks talk to me, the fish. Oh, I used to talk to the fish. People, I didn't care that people thought I was a bit crazy. But the fish used to
talking. They're all talking. We need to listen to them.
Well, they were. I used to feed the fish little pieces of bread, rolled up in my hand, and they'd jump out of the water to eat it. After they followed me around the lake. And that sounds funny, but they knew I was there and I was going to feed them. Now, granted, they're filling their bellies, but it's just beautiful to interact with everything. And I can't tell you, I've been to places all over the world where the trees told me things that they couldn't have known. I mean, they did know, but things that were going to happen to me where I was. And again, back then it used to blow my mind, but in time, things that I used to think were miracles, they're not miracles anymore. It is how we need to be. We need to, as you just said, Jocelyn, we need to open our ears, our senses, and listen. It's not supernatural. It is completely natural. The ancients knew that. And this comes from Disney's Pocahontas. And it's from Grandmother Willow. And she says, all around you are spirits, child. They live in the earth, the water, the sky. If you listen, they will guide you. And I just think it's beautiful. And I love the song and all that, because, it is a memory of what I experienced. And having lived in Egypt for as long as I have, I do dream about getting back into the green and the lakes and the water again. So hopefully that can happen at some point. Not that I haven't enjoyed my experience of Egypt and still do. This is great from Joe Dispenza because he's written a book on how to recondition the body to a new mind. Just again, ideas, consciousness transforming through manipulation of waveform. What would it mean to become supernatural? What if you could tune into the frequencies beyond your material world? Guess what? You can change your brain chemistry to access transcendent levels of awareness, create a new future, and transform your very biology to enable profound healings. We can. The waveform has told us so. We can. The rabbit hole is the portal at the center of the torus. Everything is torus. Are you ready to jump in? Alice did.
Yes.
And that's when the magic happens.
Mm.
Isn't it just fascinating how science and spirituality are completely connected?
Mhm.
Manly P. Hall, he did a wonderful YouTube video all about our magnetic fields, the Earth's all the magnetic fields. He really brought forward so much knowledge from the ancients. And here he tells us harmonic resonance is essential to health. We must help to maintain the integrity of the field. We are here to do that. Not that it's our job, but if as we do it, it only benefits us and everything in our surroundings, which is also a part of us. It's all connected. He says every form in nature has a magnetic field, from the tiniest atom to the greatest galaxy. Atom, Atum, is Atum, the ancient letter Atum. All is Atum. He says every organism within and without is conscious and has its own field connected to all other fields. To abuse one is to abuse them all. So here's another way to look at it. You know, when we're having a bad day and we strike out at people, we're striking out at ourselves. We're hurting ourselves. I always remember I heard a phrase years ago that resentment is the poison you feed yourself when you're angry with somebody else. And that stuck with me for years and years, you know, that we need to be cognizant of our attitudes and emotions and how we affect, you know, each other and our environment and ourselves. Even the attitude that we have when we're alone is affecting our state of health. We can choose to be joyful. And he says we must keep the laws of nature or the magnetic field fails. But of course. And this is, again, ancient Egypt, the weighing of the heart against the feather. And the feather, in this case, you see an image of Thoth, Jehuti, consciousness itself. And as the ibis bird, he is the mind. So it's really the weighing of the heart. In the other container is an image of the heart. It's the heart against the mind. It's the two hemispheres of the brain. You know, left brain focus versus right brain focus. When we can bring that back into balance, that is a state of perfect health. And what they're showing you is Anubis is there, again, the path opener. He's the gate opener. He's the one that stands at every one of our chakra. You know, I like to say chakra, our inner suns. You know, it did have a connection with ancient Egypt. But they actually saw the chakras as the endocrine system, you know, are the endocrine organs that are our life force energies. You know, there are sources of, you know, they are the inner suns that provide the life force for our body. And if you look, he's holding the image of the heart, and all of the chakras are the twisted, you know, it's basically the Kundalini rising. So it's telling us if we can come into balance, you know, between our heart and our mind, transmute our polarity, we bring ourselves back to center. And the image at the top is the baboon. It's Thoth as the baboon. And Thoth as the baboon is wisdom from within. Thoth as the ibis is wisdom from without. Wisdom from within is what we're all seeking. So the forces of nature, the Neteru, combine to offer intricate and interconnected systems that breathe in divine harmony, or Ma'at. A remarkable presentation of this phenomenon are the vast mycelial networks, the underground web of fungal threads that span vast areas of forests and ecosystems to form the collective vegetative part of fungi or mycelium. These networks, formed by entire communities of different fungi, are not only play a crucial role in the health and sustainability of their surrounding communities, but also offer valuable lessons in cooperation, resource exchange, communication, and adaptation. We could learn a lot from the mycelium. Mycelium is a fungus that expands underground, creating a network of connection between all plant species, very much like the internet. It not only enables them to communicate, but also to take care of themselves, protect themselves, feed themselves, and store water, like forests. When a tree from the forest is cut down, this mycelium communicates to many trees in the forest that one of them is dying. And all the other trees through the mycelium begin to care for the remaining trunk in an effort to save it. They feed it water to protect it because it is still a part of the forest family. Everything has a language. It's a universal language, and we can learn to reconnect with this nonverbal language, understanding that we are all part of the same divine essence or source. There is no inherent hierarchy. No one is better than anyone else. We are all connected within this web, no matter what the archetypal pattern of energy we choose to embody. This is so important to remember. We are each other. You are my mirror. I am your mirror. And if we learn to treat each other with love and grace and compassion, that alone changes the world.
Mhm. And it's so beautiful how that is shown to us in nature in
Yes.
every possible way. It's like this is the architecture, of course.
Exactly. And we hear it, and it's so easy to be sucked back into 3D. And even it's our own tapes and our own wounds that sometimes pull us back and we forget. Just to develop a system to be aware in every moment, to stay in the now, to remember how powerful we are. And that power can go both ways. If we're in a negative, I used to remember, if I was having a bad day, like the coffee spilled and, all these different things would, if you were to get angry and upset, it just kept happening. But if you smile and laugh and say, oh, I wonder if that's going to prevent, something else from happening, you just move on your day, with just a good feeling in your heart that everything is exactly as it's supposed to be. It turns the energy around almost immediately. It's just amazing how we are creating our reality in every given moment. And mostly, unaware that we're doing it. It's bringing that awareness back, opening our senses that will change that reality. We can, rid ourselves of all the things that no longer serve us just by being clear, being cognizant in any given moment of your attitude and how you are acting, how you are projecting. This is an interesting thing, and I think some of us have memory of it. It's from an article, Capitalism and the Colonization of Consciousness by Sean Donahue. And he says, historically, the witches at the edge of the woods were early capitalism's worst nightmare. Church and state collaborated to eliminate them through torture and execution in order to cut off sources of forbidden knowledge, especially the knowledge that plants and animals and rivers and stones were alive and speaking to us. The knowledge that the world was alive was the largest obstacle to separating people from the land and employing people to exploit the earth's resources. Even after most of our forebears were killed or driven into hiding, the witches at the edge of the woods haunted the cultures as villains in fairy tales and folklore. So they turned something around that was so beautiful. It was our heritage. It was our knowing. The women were the knowers of the healing arts and the herbology and, the ability to connect with nature, to create. And by design, because of the cycle we were in, we lost that ability. You could say it was taken from us, but again, if this is the cycle, instead of placing blame, it's of remembering, and if you have a memory of this time period, it sometimes will prevent you from moving forward with, what to be true in your heart, afraid to speak your truth because, someone will take something away from you. Or condemn you for it. And I think, again, a recognition that those days are over and to remember who we are is literally how we flip everything that we're experiencing today and turn it into something so beautiful, to bring this knowing back. And so many people are, You know, we're learning how herbs can heal us. We don't need synthetic vitamins and synthetic medicines. You know, that nature has our cures. And when we talk to nature, nature tells us how it can heal us. And this is how the ancients moved through life. You know, they were aware that everything was connected. So yeah, I think we are in an exciting time, and we do have a lot, you know, to move through. But it is more than possible. It's happened before. It can happen again. And we need to find, the methods for doing that. Manly Pial also said that whenever we see or experience perfection, it benefits us. And this is really interesting. When everything's in harmony, everything is in harmony if we are. Again, be present, be aware. The very ancient Egyptians created living structures and crafted statues that embodied archetypal forces of nature that interacted with us in beneficial ways. You know, when we look at this statue of Sekhmet, another feline energy, her eyes are alive. But this is the ability of the craftsmanship to embody this archetypal knowing. She is alive. She is interacting with us. And you know, this is, I think, what we're capable of doing again if we remember. I know so many times, I'm an artist, and I know so many artists, and when we're in, you know, we're in the groove, or you know, whatever you want to call it, suddenly it's almost like we're channeling energy, and we look at something and it's like, that's impossible. I could never have done that. But we did, because we literally, you know, were on the right frequency. We were able to forget who we are and allow that energy to come forward. And we can do that. They offered healing techniques that removed blockages to our inner flow and restored balance within. They informed us that if we maintain the integrity of our endocrine system, our chakras, that they will help to protect us from outside influences. This sacred knowledge loss can be reclaimed. The Great Mother, the Divine Architect, weaves the ultimate fractal and holographic pattern of all life as an incredible exhalation and inhalation of a breath of divine light. It can't be any other way. Time is the illusion. How we experience it is always of our own choosing. Learn how to navigate the currents of her threads, and you can achieve harmonic and resonant bliss in any given perceived moment. Remember, we are the star people. We're made from star stuff, birthed from the great potter's wheel in the heavens. And Stephen always liked to call Hakeem the were-were. And we all can become were-were. And it's he or she who remembers and knows is the greatest. This is the definition. The teacher of the star knowledge, the seer of the time-space continuum, the elder of wisdom, the greatest of the greatest, the great of wisdom. It is one who feels and honors the currents of nature and has earned the right to know its secrets. The Holy Grail is the heart within. Eckhart Tolle tells us you are never more essentially, more deeply yourself than when you are still. And knowing yourself is the first step to becoming clear with all your intentions. We need to take the time, silent time, to go within and know who we are. Because what we intend, we are creating. Hather's mirror, again from the ceiling at Dendera, it's the reflected light of the sun on the moon. And we are a reflection of consciousness creating. To know thyself, according to Socrates, was the foundation of wisdom. We are co-creating our own reality, challenging us to be more present and clear with our intentions, attitudes, and responses to stimuli. We can imagine a new world into existence. Florence Scovel-Shinn says, change your thoughts, and in the twinkling of an eye, all your conditions change. Your world is a world of crystallized ideas, crystallized words. Sooner or later, you reap the fruits of your words and thoughts. We need to be pure with our thoughts.
Mhm.
So I think I'm done.
Thank you, Patricia, for this beautiful, beautiful presentation. It's just amazing how you bring the images in to illustrate these really profound concepts. You know, you have this incredible gift for taking cosmic and incredibly expansive ideas and really grounding them in a way that we can receive them so beautifully. So thank you, thank you.
Oh, thank you. And yeah, I did want to point out that if you want to join me on and the one I'm doing this year is a Great Stars Over Egypt tour with Dave Matheson and Ksenia Moore. Dave Matheson is the smart star myth expert, and Ksenia is his partner and a very well-known astrologer in Australia. And we're going to do this Stars Over Egypt tour together in November. And please, if you would like to come and you've seen this presentation or been part of the conference, we can give you a $50 discount if you just put that down on the registration form that you find on the website, horusrising.com.
Amazing. Thank you for that gift, Patricia. That is wonderful. And I'm sure that's going to be such an amazing tour, really diving into the star lore and star knowledge and all that they knew in ancient Egypt about these incredible connections that we have with the stars and the constellations. So beautiful.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. I feel like we can all watch this 5 more times and get different pieces of wisdom every time. So I encourage that everybody watch this again. There's so much profound knowledge encoded here in what Patricia has shared today and in all that you share, Patricia. So yeah, I hope everybody has really enjoyed this so much. Do go ahead and check out Patricia's website, horusrising.com, and see she has beautiful articles on there to help you more deeply understand ancient Egypt and the themes and the knowledge, and check out the upcoming tours. And we have more surprises not yet published for 2025. So I'm sure you'll be posting those when they become available.
Lots of exciting events, definitely.
Exciting,
Thank you.
yeah, exciting things coming up. So, well, thank you once again, Patricia. Much love to you. And
much love to you, Jocelyn. Thank you.
okay, and thank you everybody for tuning in. I hope you've received so much from this beautiful presentation, and I will see you again soon in our next interview. Much love, everybody.